to any particular financial criteria for becoming a foster parent?
The finances, what they want to make sure is that your income meets what your expenses are monthly. If you're in a position where a child being placed in your home can kind of put you on the other side, where you're going to be experiencing some hardship, then that's going to be an issue. Income-wise, we're not looking for a specific income level. We want to make sure that, you know, what it is that you're spending monthly is not being jeopardized by having a child placed
How
in your
can we
home.
get the churches to get out from those four walls and realize there's a need? And we get those churches out of those four walls to join together. That's the vision that God gave me over 5 or 6 years ago, the word connection. I saw churches in the community rising up to connect together to help our community. How can we do that?
I'll never forget, I have received the tape, and the tape was given to me from Brother Terry, and I hope you got it, Evangelist Rupert. The tape said, if the church was no longer there, would anybody matter? Would it matter to anybody? And that has blown my mind, because it's greater than any one church, because the task is so great, we have to go outside the four walls and reach the people where they are, because we see it. People need food. We're doing that in reaching the community. One church can't do that by themselves. Another thing is the kids that are in the school. Mentoring is another piece that we have to reach these kids. They need our help, and the churches are there and telling them, say, hey, come to us, we can provide this service. So it's not about one particular church. We have to go out there and meet the need. And I think the problem is we're trying to corner the market, and we can't do that because the need is so great. There's so many things that we can do. And we have to step outside these four walls and reach out to the community and say, hey, we're here. These are services that are available to you. It's not about the church, but it's what we can do for the people in the community. The churches don't know what's out in the community. We come to church in the community, but we don't know what's offered in the community. So I think if we create a resource day for the community and for the church, and I think that will open the doors, because again, people are coming to the church looking for help. How can we help them as a church if we don't even know what's in the community to help them? So it starts with us.
Excellent.
I realize a lot of our problems stem from our teenage parents raising children. We have a great influx today of teenagers becoming parents. And we have the situation of children raising children. And I think that, well, my question is, what can we do to address that situation?
That's a great question. I think we've been talking about the church and the resources in the community and networking and all that stuff. A lot of young ladies that become pregnant and have children, a lot of times their family turns them away. So they lost their support structure, their support system. So you need to accept, what's going on, accept the situation, take some responsibility, and help your
Before
kids
anything
out.
like that happens, they should know, be educated about sexual education or the prevention measures or abstinence. Okay, they need to be taught the consequences of their actions and what can happen. And so it's an education issue. It's a support issue if it does happen. And that's about it.
Just to add to that, just recently there was an organization that came to the church called Caribbean American, I forgot the other acronym of they came out and did a parenting program for the church, but also invited the kids in the church from other churches and also the community to come out. So we need more of those programs to let the community know that the church is available to have as a resource, not saying come to the church, but the church was an area that they came and held this program. And I found out something that I didn't know, that Florida is the #1 state in pregnancy. And teenage pregnancy, Florida. It's the #1 state.
There's stressors on the grandparents for raising
Yeah,
their children and great-grandchildren. I've seen so much of that, and a lot of these elderly ladies, outside ladies, because most of them are just the grandmother, raising these grand and great-grandchildren. I worked in maternity for 23 years, and I saw mothers that I took care of having their babies, and that baby came in having their babies, and the grandmother had to raise that baby plus the baby's baby. And it's now, I think it's even worse, because I mean, I've retired many years ago, and it was bad then.
I have a question, I just have a comment. Jesus told us to go out into the world, and I believe that as Christians, if we were really bought into that, we wouldn't be having this discussion. If we were doing our job, we wouldn't be dependent on the government to take over for us. We wouldn't be dependent on the schools to be responsible for some things. We need to be responsible for our own people, our own families. I think revival is what we need.
I'll follow up on that. As a child, I was raised by my uncle and his wife, because my mother was incapable of raising me. And I think I turned out pretty good. And I think it's the love that I experienced from the entire family. Growing up, I used to say, man, I think they were so sorry for me. That's why everybody was wanted back then wants to raise me, you know, because my mother wasn't there. Everybody wants to raise me, but it's not like that anymore. The closeness of the family made a big difference back then.
Religious organizations get involved in the community, in these various community affairs. How much funding should we take from the local government or state government so as not to have to deal with the restrictions? And
counties, they are required under state law to do some social service providing, so there is still going to be money there. City governments are under no charge from the state to do social services. So anything that a city government does, they're just doing out of the kindness of their heart. And that money is going away quicker than any other money, because we're there to provide police and fire and public works and parks and recreation type services. Cities weren't created to provide social services, and so a lot of them are getting out of that altogether. So right now is not a good time to be going to a local government and asking for money, because there's just not a whole lot there.
I'm a fairly old man, 82 years old. My wife, she's over 70. It would not be wise for us to even think about. I keep getting a child. I don't even think, you know, this is the question I wanted. How old is too old to take a child? You know what I'm saying?
80, how old are you?
I'm 82.
You're in pretty good shape. I hope I look that good when I'm 82. There's no age restrictions as far as, you know, how old you could be to be a foster parent. If you have the strength, which I can see you do, you know, it all depends on what you feel comfortable with. There is no age restrictions as far as how old you need to be. There are many, as was mentioned down the road, there are a lot of grandparents who have now even adopted their own grandchildren.
If he wanted to be a temporary, or is there such thing as a temporary where they can be placed temporary, like say if a kid was removed, can he be used as a temporary place where they're as like a safe house?
Absolutely. We have respite foster parents. They just keep children over the weekend or in an emergency basis. It doesn't have to be for a long time. And we just need that time to house them until we can find a more appropriate place for them. So there are many options in being a foster parent.